So the dumbbell RDL is our fundamental hinge pattern movement. Hinge is really important. If you think about so many of the movements that you perform on the bike, yes, you are bending somewhat at the knees, but you're also pushing your hips back and trying to keep your weight nice and low over the bike. And if you were to look at a decent attack posture of a rider who's cruising along a piece of trail, then they should be in something approximating a hinge position when it comes to their hips and lower limbs. So here's how to set up for the dumbbell Romanian deadlift. This is an exercise that's meant to tax your glutes and hamstrings, and your lower back plays a stabilizing role. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our feet shoulder width apart, toes pointing forward. I'm going to have the dumbbells held in front of my body, nice and close to my body. I'm then going to initiate the movement with slightly soft knees, so unlocked knees, by pushing my hips backwards. It's best that we think about pushing our hips backwards rather than bending our torso forwards, because this will place the extra tension on our glutes and our hamstrings, which is what we want with this movement. It will also protect our lower backs when performing this exercise. You're going to want to think about your weight being driven through the middle of your foot. So think about the laced section of your shoes. You're going to want your weight to be driving through that portion of your foot, neither too toe heavy nor too heel heavy. As I push my hips backwards, I'm going to keep the dumbbells nice and close to my legs, nice and close to my knees and shins as I lower down. A nice cue for thinking about pushing your hips backwards is imagine that you are having to close a car door with your bum. As one client said to me, it's exactly what I do when I've got my hands full of shopping and I need to close the car door. The other one is imagine that you've got a button that you have to push and you cannot move your feet. So imagine that you're sort of buried up to your calves in sand, and so therefore your lower legs are completely immobilized. And so, yeah, you either have to close car door with your bum or push button with your bum. You're going to want to keep a flat back. Notice that I stop my range of motion short of rounding with my back, so my back remains flat throughout. If I were to try and lower my torso closer to the ground when I'm doing this movement, beyond what I'm showing in the video, I would then be getting the movement by flexing my spine, which is not something we want to do when holding on to heavy loads in this instance. I'm then going to stand back up straight by contracting my hamstrings and my glutes. You should feel a strong stretching sensation in your hamstrings at the bottom of this movement, and it will very likely make you a little bit sore if it's one of your first times performing this movement. Again, check your ego at the door when performing this exercise. You'll soon be able to build up to performing this with pretty heavy loads, as the glutes and hamstrings are strong muscle groups. But if you're learning the technique, then start light and build yourself up.